always thought silence was safe. That if I kept my head down, stayed quiet, and didn't draw attention, nothing bad would find me. That belief followed me to Blackridge, the town that looked peaceful from the outside, like something out of a postcard. Clean sidewalks, white fences, smiling neighbors. But silence doesn't protect you. It only makes it easier for someone to watch you without being seen. My apartment was small, barely furnished. Just a bed, a table, and a window that faced the street. At night I liked to sit there with the lights off, watching cars pass, pretending I was invisible. I told myself I was starting over. New town, new job, new life. No more running. No more looking over my shoulder. But on the third night I felt it. That pressure between my shoulder blades. That old, familiar instinct that whispered, "Someone is looking at you." I didn't turn around at first. I told myself it was nerves, trauma, memory. But then I saw him in the reflection of the glass. Not his face, just his shape. Across the street, under the broken streetlight. He didn't move. Didn't smoke. Didn't check his phone. He just stood there, watching my window, watching me. The next morning I convinced myself it was nothing. Stranger. Coincidence. Blackridge was small after all. People noticed new faces. I went to work, learned the names of my coworkers, smiled when I was supposed to. I even laughed. I was good at pretending. But every time the door chimed, my body tensed. Every time footsteps passed behind me, my heart stuttered. And when I walked home that evening, I felt him again. Not behind me. Ahead. I saw his reflection in a shop window before I saw him directly. Dark clothes, sharp posture. The kind of presence that bent the air around him. He didn't look at me. Not openly. He just stood near the alley entrance like he belonged there. Like he owned the space. When I passed, our shoulders almost touched. I smelled his cologne. Something expensive, cold, and dangerous. My skin reacted before my mind did. Shiver. Pull. A warning. I walked faster. I didn't look back. But I knew. I knew he was smiling. That night there was a note under my door. No envelope. Just a single folded page. My hands shook when I picked it up. I didn't want to open it. I already knew it wasn't good. But curiosity is a kind of weakness. And I've always had too much of it. The handwriting was neat, controlled, almost elegant. It said, "You shouldn't sit in the dark. It makes it too easy to imagine things." My breath caught. I hadn't told anyone about the window, about the lights, about how I sat there at night pretending not to exist. I reread the line again and again. My chest felt tight. The apartment suddenly felt smaller. Like the walls had leaned in. I locked the door. Then I checked it twice. Then 3 times. But no lock can protect you from someone who already knows exactly where you are. And how you like to hide. Barely slept. Every sound in the building felt louder than it should have been. Pipes knocking. Someone coughing 2 floors up. Car door slamming outside. Each time, my body jerked awake like it had been trained to expect danger. By morning, I was exhausted and angry at myself for being afraid of a piece of paper. I threw the note away before work, forcing myself not to look at it again. The cafe I stayed busy. Wiped counters that were already clean. Refilled cups that weren't empty. My hands needed something to do. Around noon the door chimed. I didn't look up at first. I knew better than to expect anything unusual. But the air changed. That's the only way I can describe it. Like the room got heavier, quieter. When I finally lifted my eyes, he was there. Leaning against the counter like he had all the time in the world. Dark jacket, clean boots, those same unreadable eyes. He studied me like I was something he'd already memorized. "You look tired," he said softly. His voice was calm, warm. "Well." I didn't answer. I just reached for a cup. My fingers slipped. It hit the floor and shattered. He smiled. "Careful," he said. "You break things when you're nervous." Froze. He hadn't raised his voice. Hadn't threatened me. But he shouldn't have known that about me. He leaned closer. Not touching. Just close enough that I could feel his presence. You didn't imagine me, he added. That's good. I don't like when people lie to themselves. Then he straightened, paid for his coffee, and walked out like nothing had happened. I stood there shaking, surrounded by broken glass and people who hadn't noticed a thing. After that, he started appearing everywhere. Not following, not obviously. Just present. Cross the street. The corner. In reflections. In doorways. Always close enough that I couldn't forget him, but never close enough that I could confront him. I told myself it was coincidence. That fear was making patterns where there were none. But fear doesn't write notes. And it doesn't know your habits. One evening I got home to find my window open. I never left it open. The air inside was cold. Different. Like someone else had already been breathing it. Nothing was missing. Nothing was moved. Except my chair. It had been turned slightly toward the door. As if someone had sat there. Waiting. On my table was another note. Same handwriting. Same control. You lock your door, it said. That's smart. But you forget about your window. My knees went weak. I sat down hard on the bed. He had been inside. Not to steal. Not to break anything. Just to prove he could. Just to show me that my space wasn't mine anymore. I didn't call the police. I told myself they'd laugh. That I had nothing concrete. No face. No name. Just a feeling and a few pieces of paper. So I stayed quiet. I went to work. Smiled. I survived the days. And at night I stopped turning the lights off. I sat in the glow of the lamp, pretending visibility was safety. That if he could see me clearly, he wouldn't need to imagine me. But one night there was a knock at my door. Not loud. Not demanding. Just 3 slow, controlled taps. I didn't move. My heart pounded so hard I thought he'd hear it. The knock came again. Then his voice, low and calm through the wood. Open the door, he said. I didn't answer. I know you're awake, he added. You always are at this hour. Silence stretched between us. Then softer. I'm not here to hurt you. Not yet. My hand hovered over the lock. And for a terrifying second, I realized part of me wanted to turn it. I didn't open the door. I stood there until my legs went numb. Until my heartbeat slowed from panic to something dull and aching. Eventually, his presence faded. I didn't hear footsteps. I didn't hear the elevator. Just nothing. Like he had never been there at all. That was almost worse. The next day I called in sick. I stayed in bed with the curtains drawn, trying to disappear inside my own apartment. But around noon my phone buzzed. Unknown number. One message. You don't like being told what to do, it said. My throat went dry. I hadn't given anyone my number. I typed and erased 3 different replies before finally locking the screen without sending anything. A minute later another buzz. But you do like being watched. I threw the phone onto the bed like it had burned me. My hands were shaking again. I hated that part of me, the one that reacted before thinking. The one that felt seen instead of just threatened. He knew me. Not my name. Not my story. But my patterns. My silences. My weaknesses. That night I didn't sleep. Waited. When I went back to work he was already there. Sitting in my usual seat like he owned it. Coffee in hand. He looked up when I froze in the doorway. You look better in the dark, he said casually. Like we were talking about the weather. I didn't move. I didn't answer. He gestured to the chair across from him. Sit, he said. The word wasn't loud, but it landed heavy. I surprised myself by obeying. My body moved before my mind could argue. He studied me openly now. No pretending. No reflections. Just his eyes on my face, my hands, the way I breathed. You think I'm the danger, he said. But I'm just the one who noticed you first. My pulse thudded in my ears. Why? I whispered. The word felt small. He smiled, not kind, not cruel. Just certain. Because girls like you don't know what to do with their darkness, he replied. You hide it. I don't. Then he stood and walked out again, leaving my coffee untouched, leaving me shaking. That evening I didn't go straight home. I wandered, took long routes, turned corners I'd never taken before. I wanted to see if he'd follow. He didn't. And somehow that scared me more than if he had. When I finally reached my building, there was a package at my door. No return address. Inside was a small black box, perfectly wrapped. Inside that, a necklace, thin silver chain. Simple, beautiful. Under it, another note. For when you're ready to stop pretending, it said. I didn't put it on. I held it in my palm and felt the cold metal warm against my skin. He wasn't trying to scare me anymore. He was trying to change me. And the worst part was, I could feel it working. I didn't put the necklace on that night. I told myself I was stronger than that. Martyr. But the next morning I woke up with it in my hand. I must have fallen asleep holding it like a child with a secret. The chain was warm now, like it already belonged to me. I stared at myself in the mirror for a long time before finally fastening it around my neck. The silver rested just above my collarbone. Innocent, unassuming. No one at work noticed anything different. No one but him. I felt his eyes before I saw him. He was standing across the street from the cafe, arms crossed, watching me through the window. When our gazes met, he tilted his head slightly. Approval. My stomach twisted. Not fear this time. Something worse. Satisfaction. He didn't come inside that day. He just watched. Let me work. Let me exist under his attention. And I hated how focused I felt because of it. That night I found another message on my phone. Good girl. 2 words. They hit harder than any threat. I should have blocked the number. I didn't. I sat on my bed and read them over and over until the meaning shifted inside me. From insult, praise, to something dangerously close to comfort. A week passed. Then another. His presence became routine. Shadow in my life. Always there. Never touching. Never crossing the final line. And that was what made it unbearable. I started waiting for him. Not consciously. But my eyes searched for him in every reflection, every window. One night, I found myself standing at my own window again. Lights off. The old habit. Across the street, under the broken streetlight. He was there. Like always. But this time I didn't turn away. I opened the window. The air between us felt electric. He lifted his hand slowly. Not waving. Just acknowledging. I lifted mine back. The next message came seconds later. Come downstairs. My heart slammed against my ribs. I stared at the screen. Then at the door. Then at the necklace in the mirror. This time I didn't hesitate. I put on my coat and walked out into the hallway. Each step felt like I was crossing some invisible boundary. When I reached the street, he was already there. Closer than ever before. His eyes flicked to the necklace. Then back to my face. You finally stopped hiding, he said quietly. No, I replied, surprising both of us. I just got tired of being alone. Something dark flashed in his gaze. Approval again. He stepped closer. So close I could feel the heat of him. Careful, he murmured. That's how this starts. And how does it end? Yes. He leaned down, his mouth near my ear. It doesn't. He didn't take me home. He turned down the street before my building, then another, leading me through quieter roads where the houses thinned out and the lights grew weaker. I followed without asking why. The night felt different now, charged, waiting. We stopped in front of a large, dark house at the edge of Blackridge. No porch light, no cars, no signs of life. He unlocked the door and stepped aside for me. I hesitated. Every instinct screamed that this was the moment I should run. But another voice inside me whispered that I'd already crossed too many lines to turn back now. I went in. The door closed behind me with a soft, final click. Inside, the air smelled like leather and cold stone. Minimal furniture. Clean. Controlled. Like him. He watched me take it in. You're not scared, he said. I am, I replied. Good, he said calmly. Fear keeps you honest. He showed me things about myself I had spent years avoiding. Not with force, with precision, with questions that cut deeper than any touch ever could. Why did I run? Why did I hide? Why did I need to be invisible? He listened like my answers mattered, and twisted them into something new, something darker, stronger. He didn't tell me who he was. He didn't give me his name. He only told me this. You were already broken when I found you. I just stopped you from lying about it. When he finally let me leave, the sky was turning gray with morning. I walked home feeling different. Not lighter, not safer, but awake. The next days blurred together. I still worked, still smiled, still lived my small, quiet life. But inside something had shifted. The fear was still there, but it was tangled with something else now. Need, curiosity, hunger. He didn't text. He didn't follow. He vanished. And that was the cruelest part. Because now I knew what it felt like to be seen completely. And I couldn't unfeel it. A week later there was another note under my door. Come back when you're ready to stop pretending again. No threats. No orders. Just an invitation. I stared at the words for a long time. Then I picked up my coat. I don't know what I am anymore. Victim. Willing. Lust. Found. All I know is this. Blackridge didn't change me. He did. Or maybe he just uncovered what was already there. The girl who thought silence was safety is gone. In her place is someone who understands that darkness doesn't chase you. Wait. And when you finally stop running, it opens the door and lets you in.